Hello and welcome back to the second part of Chapter H, which is dealing with video marketing. I believe on the last slide or last video we finished up with this slide, and so we're going to continue on to show you this graphic about how video marketing has helped business to business in terms of generating more sales and revenue. So if you look at this graph, it's not a graph, this chart, you'll see that when we looked at doing some kind of study in terms of how to increase sales, they used a video and then they didn't use a video. And so what did the video do in terms of responses? They got more responses because the video was on the site. They increased their qualified leads because it was using the video. Now the opportunities dropped a little bit, but they were able to close more deals, and I suspect they closed more deals because they had more responses and more qualified leads. The average deal size didn't change any, but look at the change in revenue that was generated because they could attribute that to having a video on the site. So almost double. And so using videos and knowing how to use those can help you generate more revenue. Some other things to keep in mind if you're going to use video is that you need to post it to different platforms. We'll see on the next slide what different platforms are available for you to post on. You might also want to think about Facebook, posting videos there, because you can also have ads where people will click on them and generate revenue for those sites that are having those ads placed next to their content. You can also use Snapchat, and here those are either short photos or videos that are viewable for a short amount of time. There's also Vine, and that has small short videos as well. Now, something you should know about Vine is that Twitter actually shut it down in 2016, and I believe in 2017 January it became Vine Camera. So you got to keep up with the different apps and different locations or platforms where you can put your videos and make sure people are still going there and it's still a viable service. So here are some different platforms that are ranked by the monthly unique visitors, and so you have at the top of the list you have YouTube, then comes Netflix, Vimeo, Yahoo, Screen, Dailymotion, Hulu, so on. Twitch is about electronic gaming, where you can watch people play games. We actually have an esports team here at Western. If you're interested in playing and if you're on campus, you could probably join that team. You can also, if you have Amazon Prime, you could sign up for a Twitch account there, and they will donate some money towards our esports WKU team. It'll help them stay alive as a Western Kentucky University team. And then you can see the one here that's last. It's no longer playing or working, and so again, you got to keep up with what's going on. So the next thing I want to talk about is how do you create appealing video content. And so your book says use this AEIOU rule, so the vowels, if you will. So one is you want to be as authentic as you can. You want to try and use real people in actual locations. If you look at Home Depot, this is what they try and do. And the reason why you want to do that is because sometimes if something looks too high-end, then people will think it's just a slick marketing ploy, and then it may not be very accurate and it may not be very truthful. So people would be skeptical to look at your service or product a little more in detail. And so a lot of times you might be able to get by just recording with a webcam. And so if you're listening to this video, that's exactly what I've got. I've got an HD webcam that if I could do videos, I would put them in there with that. And right now I'm just talking and the webcam is recording my voice. And so I have the camera actually turned off. So very inexpensive, and you can produce something that looks pretty good. And so with that homemade feel, you're likely to get people who will believe the content more than something that might be highly polished. So that was the A. So let's go with the E. The E is entertaining. And so you want to come up with something that people will find enjoyable, that it might be funny, something to look at. So the example here is, look at the Red Bull videos. They seem to have done a really good job at setting the example for how to do this. If people find it funny enough, then they will share it. And if they share it, then their friends of friends will share it, and hopefully then that'll go viral. And so you can find other people that are blogging about that, so you get into another channel, and you generate some more interest in whatever you've put out there for your brand, product, or service. The I part is intimate, so you really want to have a story behind your video. People want to try and follow that, and you want to try and relate to those people and have something that'll be compelling for them to want to share with other people. So an example here that your book used is the Dove in their Real Beauty social media campaign. There's also Burger King's Whopper Freak Out campaign. Again, it's intimate. People are showing something that you can relate to. You want to see it, you want to share it, and that's the whole idea behind that video marketing. The last two vowels are O and U, and so this stands for offbeat and unusual. Sometimes you can do something a little offbeat, a little unusual, and people will like it. Other times you might fall into, this really isn't appropriate, so you need to have a lot of feedback before you release that, and have some people look at it, have some panels discuss it, and so on. So as I mentioned in the other previous video, some things to know about and think about when you're creating your video is that a lot of times people don't view it in completion, and so desktop viewing completion was about 20%. And so that means 80% didn't view all of it. So smartphone viewing completion rate is about 10%, which means 90% of the people that are viewing it on a smartphone didn't view it. So you got to make sure that your content is there and ready to go, and it's going to do what you want it to do. You don't want to string it out and have it go long, because chances are people aren't going to watch it. So as you're making your video, you got to make sure that it's something that people want to watch. So the location of where it's being shot needs to be important. The mood of what you're producing needs to be important, and the content should matter to those that are watching your video. If it doesn't, they're probably not even going to click on it, and if they do click on it, they'll watch it for a few seconds, and if it doesn't matter to them, then they're done. They're not going to watch all of it. So here's some more information on video completion rates. We can see that 25% of the videos were completed by 63% of the desktop. Only 50% of the smartphone users watched 25%. Did they watch half of it? If they are on a desktop, they watched 53% watched half of it. Only 42% on a smartphone watched it, half of it. 75%, you see a lot of people on the desktop will watch, or 51% of the people on the desktop watch 75%. And then those here are the numbers that I was talking about on the previous slide. So as you read this and think about what this graph is telling you and how that might be appropriate to what you're producing. The next thing we want to talk about is how to think about sharing of your videos. And so, if something's really funny, people will click on it and share it, and they'll like that. And it has to do with everything we were just talking about. But when you think about, why do people put up content and why do they share it? And so there's some research done by a person named Schaefer. And so if you look at this, there's the first thing they found, it's an act of altruism. That is, they want to help. And so they'll share that information to get it out there. Another reason might be to express their own identity. And the third is because they have some kind of emotional connection to the brand. And so they may use it, they may really like it, so on. But for businesses, we're trying to get people to share that video for economic reasons, so we can drive more people to our site so they'll make a purchase, or we can get leads, which eventually leads to more revenue because we've closed more deals because we had more leads. You also need to keep in mind, and I've tried to talk about it throughout these videos, is that you've got sharing that occurs in different stages. And so your primary stage is when the person initially puts it out there, and it might be the business, it might be the individual, and then their friends think it's good and they start sharing it. And then the networks that their friends are in, the other people start to see it and they think it's good and they want to share it for all the same reasons we've been talking about. And so it kind of goes slow, and then all of a sudden it may explode, and then because of that network effect, you have this viral effect for this video, which is your goal for producing something like this. So initially with that primary sharing, then we're going to have a person or business that posts it out there, and they're going to post it on the different video sites that we talked about. So it could be YouTube, it could be some kind of Snapchat, so on. Now your book makes a recommendation that you may want to consider funneling all your link traffic through YouTube because it's the most popular. All right, so if you can link them back to YouTube eventually based on where you've been on those other sites, then that might get you a higher ranking in the search engines. And that's what you want. If people are searching on something, they can then see it. You also want to think about posting in a blog entry to refer to that video. So there's a link to the video from the blog. People are already interested in that content, so they may be also interested in that video. If they like it, then they'll share it, and then it gets on to other areas again. And the nice thing about the blog might have the syndication services, which means then your link inside of that blog gets to go on different places, and more people get to see it and potentially click on it. All right, for secondary sharing, like I said, is when your friends start to click on whatever's posted, or your fans or customers or early viewers of the video you put out. They click on it, so it gets into their different social circles. And so, some research has found that, if the video is put up online, if it doesn't seem to catch on within 48 hours, it's probably not going to catch on. So you got about 2 days to try to get your video to go viral. If it doesn't happen within that time frame, chances are it's not going to happen. So what can you do to help it go viral? So you can try and interact with other content creators. We talked about when you have a blog, you want to try and get to those opinion leaders so that they're linked and subscribe to your blog, so they can then share and put that out on their networks. You might also think about having some kind of contest or incentive so that people will spread it and reshare. Example might be Doritos or Lay's, when they have the Lay's potato chips and trying to get ideas for a new flavor or whatever. All right. You can Also do the reciprocity kind of idea where you offer to share somebody else's content if they will share your content. So you want to reciprocate. The last stage is this viral stage, and this is when the people who are now sharing your content or your video aren't related to you at all, and so they're not connected to you in any way. And so some interesting facts is that, when something goes viral, that is this tertiary sharing, Facebook accounted for 81% of their shares that way. Pinterest only 7%, Twitter only 6%. Right? No other channel accounted for as much as 2%. So you're really looking for the shares. Facebook really has the way to share those videos, or at least they're tracking that and knowing that things are now being shared by other people other than who are initially connected to the first person that put it up, if that makes sense. As you begin to think about having a viral video, make sure that when you're posting it, it has a descriptive and memorable title. You also want to consider having different titles and tags, or keywords on each line of the video sharing site. So again, that means that when you're doing the search engine is more likely to find that content, and that content will then have a link to your video in it. So what you're trying to do is do a little search engine optimization. So the last thing we want to talk about is best practices of video marketing. So we'll just go over these briefly. One is match the production technique to the intent of the video. So this again, is it going to be highly polished, or is it okay to do something that's done with a webcam? Not highly polished, you're using regular people in the videos and so on. You want to make sure you're designing and producing for mobile devices first, because that's where the majority of people are watching videos. You want to then produce those videos so that they can go on different platforms, like Yahoo, YouTube, Facebook, and so on. So make sure that you post those on different platforms, and so that kind of goes with 3. If you design it from different platforms, you're going to post them on there. And then you want to optimize your video for all your searches. And so again, the search engine optimization, make sure you're using keywords that people could be typing in, searching for, that will actually find your video for them. And then here on the last slide, we want to make sure that we're encouraging people to share our videos. So even putting a little tagline out there, so that if you like it, please share. And so the last item here is, you don't want to get caught making a sales video and a high push for a sale. People will not share that, and you will go nowhere with it. So that ends this chapter on video marketing.